Hey guys, welcome into another episode of 410 Sports Talk. James Haskell here with my co-host Glenn Martin, and we're following up on the video that we posted last night based on the saga between Earl Thomas and Chuck Clark. We did one, talking about the situation. This one we want to base it on the premises whether or not Earl will be a Raven, right?
Yeah.
Some new information has come out, and we'll get into that. Some video has come out. Quite scandalous. No, I'm just kidding. But quite informational. A lot of things to talk about. So let's get right into it. What are some of the, from the last video we talked about last night to today, what are some of the new things that you saw, Glenn?
Yeah, so last night yesterday when the details came out that they had their scuffle, wasn't really sure what happened, what the reason. I know there was reports saying that maybe Earl had missed an assignment, and when Chuck Clark kind of scolded him on it, Earl did not respond well, and that's when the fight ensued. But since then, there's been a little bit more news coming out, and a lot of it's been from one of the members of the incident, and that's Earl Thomas, who finally has come out and he's defending himself, or I don't know if he's defending himself, but he's certainly giving his side of the story and making sure that the facts are correct. So I'm gonna just read right from his quote here. He said, being sent home sucks, because he got sent home Friday, and he didn't show up. He was not on the practice field on Saturday, which is why there was growing concern, which is why the news kind of took it and ran with it. So this is his response. He said, being sent home sucks. I can't take the reps I need to keep momentum going, but I can reflect on things and keep working my plan to help the team win. This has been one of my best camps. Crazy a situation like this can throw dirt on it. Here's the clip that started the fight. A mental error on my part, a busted coverage that I tried to explain calmly, met with built up aggression turned into me getting into it with a teammate. Since we didn't keep it in-house and I'm getting texts and calls from ESPN reporters, etc., thought I'd try to clear the air. Situation like this narrow my window for error, but this is the path I choose. Hashtag football school, hashtag training camp, hashtag skin what cat, hashtag focus. I'm not sure the skin what cat thing, but so yeah, apparently it's interesting, and the beef doesn't seem to be just between Earl and Chuck. It seems like there's a growing beef between all the DBs and Earl, and maybe more than just that. Maybe the defense and Earl, because of things like not retaining his focus on the play, freelancing on the play, not making sure he covers his responsibility, maybe going outside of his zone. And there's some players on the team that want to see some of these young guys get some of Earl's reps, namely, I should say,
Deshaun Elliott.
Deshaun Elliott. So kind of a little bit more to it than a typical camp scuffle, wouldn't you say, Jimbo?
Yeah, the thing that surprised me, well, not surprised me, but what I read this morning that struck me the most was that the leadership council, the members of the team didn't want Earl at practice today.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, that means it is deeper than just an issue with him and Chuck, right? It's much more than that. And then I worry about what Earl said about the franchise. Like, since we didn't keep it in-house, because now he's putting blame on the coaching staff, on the Ravens organization as a whole, right? The way that they're dealing with this. But this is the other thing I will say. We talked about this. When you watch the 8-second clip, watch it a couple times. Earl gets beat by Mark Andrews. That's apparent. But it was shocking to see Chuck literally rip his helmet off of his head and smash it on the ground.
Before the play was even completely over. I don't know if Andrews even dropped the ball yet,
Right. Yeah, it was. So that was surprising to me. It seemed out of character for Chuck. There must have been something building before this, which is cause for concern. But it did. Before I thought it was more black and white, as in okay, Earl overreacted to some scolding and Chuck is not at fault. But if Chuck is our green dot guy, he's our communications guy, you need to be a good communicator at the end of the day, right? I don't think that was great communication. I'm not absolving Earl because I think Earl punched him. But I don't know. What did you think about Chuck's reaction?
I was very surprised to see that video. I was very surprised to see Earl tweet a video of practice. when you consider, the secrecy that goes into making sure that strategies and stuff aren't released. Now, it's only an 8-second clip. I'm not going to act like, they're giving away house secrets here, but
Right.
typically all reps are kept in-house once it gets to the point where the media is not, allowed to be on the sideline. So I was a little surprised by him putting that video out there, but he felt he needed to get more transparent on the issue, and so that's his decision. But I'm interested to see how the Ravens feel about him tweeting a video. But as far as Clark's reaction, very surprised. I mean, to rip your helmet off and slam it in the ground, I don't care who you are. I'm sure if you're listening, to be kind of put out there on display in front of your teammates, to be embarrassed like that as a man, as any person, but certainly as a high ego football playing masculine man, a guy. You don't want to see your teammate slamming his helmet in frustration toward you, or it's going to piss you off. I don't care who you are. So, to me, unless there's a whole bunch of other behind-the-scenes stuff, which it appears to be, because if you look at Earl's quote, he said that I tried to explain calmly, but I was met with built-up aggression. Built-up aggression. That's the part that is key. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Earl is aware that there is built-up aggression. This isn't from just this 8-second clip of him blowing a coverage and getting beat by Andrews. So it was just shot. Like, what else is going on behind scenes to make Chuck Clark slam his helmet in frustration? And I'm a little upset with Clark because I don't care what – you should never do that. You should never try and embarrass a teammate especially a guy who's starting next to you as the opposite safety. I don't like that. But, man, the more I'm reading about – here's the thing. They're showing that there's possibilities they could void his contract due to conduct detrimental to the team. And basically, since they've already – I don't know if they've suspended him or just sent him home and now he's choosing not to. But if they suspend him for conduct detrimental to the team, then that can void his guarantees and get the Ravens out from underneath that, that huge dead cap money that they would be under if they decided to cut Earl. So, man, it's just like, here's the problem, though. The problem with all this is if they want him gone, nobody else on the team, at least from my perspective, can play the role that Earl plays. And people can say that they've been disappointed in Earl's performance since he's been here. And that's fine because they may be comparing him to the old Earl, which we'll never see again. But regardless of what you think, Pro Football Focus rated him a top, 12 safety in the league. Mm-hmm. That's Pro free Bowler. And strong included. He's a Pro Bowler, and a lot of what a free safety does can't be seen by the average fan. They just can't. They're behind the broadcast camera, so you don't see what's happening until after the play or the result of the play. And a lot of what he does is what he forces other people not to do, and not really plays he makes. It's rather plays he forces the offense not to be able to make by just being there. So let's not just act like it's all sunshine and roses if Deshaun Elliott steps in there, because for one, has he played more than – I mean, he can't stay healthy. And I'm not saying – I'm not totally blaming it. A lot of that's bad luck. But he can't stay healthy. He's never, ever shown that he can do it at this level, certainly not the heights that Earl has shown. And nobody else on our team has. So I just don't think we have a replacement. And if fans want to win this year and they want this defense to be top 3 like it's expected – we have one free safety on the team right now, and that's Earl Thomas. In my opinion, we have one free safety. Why do you want – if my hope is that they squash it, get in a room, talk it out like men, and they get back on the field and get back to playing some ball, because if he's lost, the defense is worse. No doubt about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, I wanted to bring up, we want to give our predictions on whether or not he's going to be a Raven. And like you said, he has a large contract. Mm-hmm. Maybe the Ravens aren't fans of that contract, and maybe they're seeing this as a way to get out of that contract. We see them do this in other ways with like physicals, like failed physicals, right?
Well, I believe they were really failed.
Some questionable fail.
I see what you're saying, because he went on to be passed by other doctors. But.
Right, some interestingly timed failed physicals is, I guess, the way that I'll put it.
Okay,
but I wonder if that comes into play. At least that's a conversation they're having. But I also want to bring up what John Harbaugh said about it. And a lot of coach speak here, but the thing that's interesting, he said it lasted longer than it needed. You're going to have these in training camp, tempers flare. However, We need to get to the bottom of this, keep our eyes on the prize. We're preparing for the Browns. But getting to the bottom of it is important, figuring out what's going on. And then the other thing about this is like you said, if they get out from under this contract, what are they going to do with the money? Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Earl has a decent cap hit this year. I think it's what, 10 million?
Yeah.
Is his cap hit. So the guys that are still out there, I literally just Googled free agents still on the market, and these are the names that popped up. Jadeveon Clowney, of course, who's not taking under 17 million, and you're getting 3 sacks and he's playing 9 games.
Well, before you move on from him, let's just talk about him because he's the name that's been getting thrown out there by every fan is Jadeveon. Now that we have this extra money, we can go get him. But my question hypothetically. But my question would be to fans is who impacts on the field more, Earl or Jadeveon? And people might jump and say, oh, it's Jadeveon because he's flashy. But at the end of the day, I mean, I'm going to pull his stats up now, but I remember last season, what do you have, 3 sacks?
Yeah.
I mean, Tyus Bowser had 3 sacks. Like, what are we talking about here? We're acting like, this guy's going to come in and put up, 20 sacks and challenge the sack record. That's not. So does he have the talent? Obviously. I mean, he's number 1 overall pick. He's clearly a talented guy. But the bottom line is production. And if you come out and you've put up 3 sacks, I mean, I'm going to pull up his numbers now, but I remember that it's disappointing when you look at his numbers. Now, people can tell me that he's game planned against, and that's fine. But so is a lot of guys, and they still put up crazy numbers. So the fact that he had 3 sacks last year.
That's crazy, dude.
I mean, that's not something you're going to be – he's never had double-digit sacks in his life.
Yeah, the only game of note that I felt like he played really well was that Niners game that they won, I think in like overtime or whatever. He had an impactful game. But outside of that, I mean, you're talking about 1 game a year where he lights the world on fire. So, but that is definitely a name that, like you said, that's been coming up. And I tend to agree with you that Earl definitely has more of an impact and a uniqueness to what
passing against Kansas City. If he's not out there, if Earl's not out there, it's going to be trouble, man. It's going to be trouble.
Yeah, and I know that they'll come back to you and say as well, Jadeveon's going to get to Patrick Mahomes, and with Calais, it's fun and it's interesting to think about Judon, Calais, Wolf, Metabuke, and Jadeveon. I mean, that's an intense front.
Name-wise, yeah.
However, I agree with you that the uniqueness to the value that Earl brings, the reason that Earl is always going to be a high-paid player is because he's put himself in a room of 3 or 4 people at the end of the day, based on his talent, right? Just like in the real world, if you're one of 3 or 4 people that can do something at a high level in the world, it literally doesn't matter what it is, you're going to get paid good money, right? And so that's why he's always going to be a high-paid player, because he has a unique skill set that puts him in a room of 3 or 4 people. So my question to you, though, Glenn, is there are some names out there and Jadeveon is one of them. But at the end of the day, this is what I want to get down to. Is Earl going to be a Raven this year?
That's a tough. I mean, if you look at his tweet and his tweet, I'm thinking he is confident that he'll be able to mend the fences just because he says this narrows his window for error, but this is the path he chose. So I think he probably went home and reflected a little bit and maybe understood. I mean, look, he looked at the tape. He saw he got beat. He posted it. But at the same time, I hope Chuck, learns from that as well, because even if there is a bunch of stuff behind the scenes that we don't know about that has been boiling over, I don't think there's ever an excuse to act like he did by ripping his helmet off and slamming it on the ground and people can say these are adults and when your pride is hurt when somebody embarrasses you like that in front of all these guys that you have respect for. So I don't care what anybody says. There's no excuse to slam your helmet like that. You can scold him and you can talk to him, but you don't need to make a whole big scene to where every time the whole team turns and looks at you. Look, why is Chuck so mad? Oh man, Earl must have really messed up. That's not fair to Earl. You're
totally right. And it's crazy because yesterday I feel like our tenor was so different. Right. Yeah, but you're right. When you see that, because I had a similar experience like that, not to dig into my personal life, but I had a similar experience like that in my previous employer where, like a while back, and we disagreed. My boss and I disagreed on something. We were in a meeting and he scolded me in front of my coworkers to the point where they couldn't even look right? You know what I'm talking? Where it's so awkward.
Yes.
That they had to look away, and I could see the beads of sweat falling off their face based on nerves, right? Like it was just a very tense situation. And I wasn't okay. I was okay with whatever he was saying to me. That's fine. But like you said, you can't criticize someone publicly and then apologize privately.
Right.
Right. There needs to be a time and a place for everything. And hopefully Chuck learns from the situation as well. And they mend fences. I think that if we're going to make a run, man, I think we need Earl. I think we need him. Yeah. You've made it abundantly clear. Deshaun Elliott, we don't even know if he can last the season. And I mean, I think the it might be a little too early, but I would bet a lot of money he's not going to be a Hall of Famer like Earl is. Right. So I think at the end of the day, we need him. I think he's going to stay with the Ravens. Are there any other?
I do think this is his last year.
Yeah. No, I agree with you there. But are there any other free agents that you think the Ravens would offload Chuck's or Earl's contract for to pursue? Are there any guys out there that come to your mind that you think of? Like, I mean, Clowney seems to be the prized jewel out there.
Yeah.
I can't think of anyone else. Can you?
I mean, he's the only one that I think you would need to clear cap money for.
Right.
Everyone else would come in. You could bring him in with Earl and still in-house.
Right.
So,
we could find a way to get creative now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Clowney's the only one that would require, movement around of monies and trying to get some cap relief. But if you want to win, you need. Unfortunately for the fans who are hoping this is Earl's, the way to get Earl out of here, you need Earl to win. You just do. I mean, if you want to count on Geno Stone to be your free safety, covering Tyreek Hill, running on the deep middle, good luck. Because even if Earl is half a step slower, he's still better than all the other guys that we have as the option.
Right, and I'll tell you what. You said this. Mark Andrews beats a lot of guys. Like in Earl's defense, he beats a lot of guys. So, all right, you got beat by, in my opinion, and yours I'm sure as well, one of the top 3 tight ends in the league.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what I mean? It is
deal.
Today, right. So let us know what you guys think. I'm interested to see what happens. I think Glenn and I agree. We both feel confident that he's going to be a Raven. You leaning towards the fact?
I'm not 100%, but I'm certainly leaning towards it because it makes the most sense on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully they mend fences. And you know what? Hopefully this is the best thing that happens to them, to that duo. They find a way to communicate better, and we find a way out of this thing, better than we were before. Give us your thoughts. Let us know what you guys think, and we'll be back soon.
See ya.